If someone you love suddenly became confused, their words started slurring, or one side of their face began to droop, would you know what to do? Because here's the truth, most people never hear clearly. When a stroke begins, you don't have hours to think. You don't have time to wait and see. You have a 4-hour window, and if you miss it, parts of the brain may never recover. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because knowing this simple fact could save a life someday, maybe even your own. So let's slow down for a moment and talk like real people, because this is something every family needs to understand. A stroke doesn't always look dramatic. It can begin with something as subtle as suddenly dropping a cup, struggling to speak a simple sentence, or feeling one leg become weak and heavy. Sometimes it's a strange numbness in one arm. Sometimes it's a sudden confusion, or your vision goes blurry for a moment. These aren't random moments. These are warnings from your brain saying something is blocking my blood flow. And when that blood flow stops, your brain is in trouble. Every single minute after a stroke, nearly 2 million brain cells die. That's why doctors call stroke a brain attack. And just like with a heart attack, hesitation can be dangerous. But here's the hopeful part. If you act fast within that 4-hour golden window, modern treatments can actually save brain tissue, restore blood flow, and in many cases prevent long-term disability. The problem is, most people don't recognize the early signs, or they dismiss them as tiredness, dizziness, or just feeling off. And by the time they seek help, it's too late. Think of the brain like a city. Every part needs electricity. A stroke shuts off the power in one area, and everything connected to it begins shutting down. But if you act fast, doctors can flip that switch back on. But they can't do that if you second guess the symptoms, or if you dismiss it as stress or weakness. This is why the fast rule exists. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, time to call for help. You don't need to diagnose, you just need to react. The most important thing to do within those first 4 hours is simple. Get emergency medical help immediately. Not call a friend, not lie down, not drink water, not wait to see if it passes. Your brain doesn't have time for that. The sooner doctors can restore blood flow, the more of the brain they can save. And that's what determines whether the person will talk again, walk again, remember again, or return to their normal life. And here's something people rarely talk about. After those 4 hours, the brain's ability to repair itself drops sharply. The damage becomes permanent. Recovery becomes harder and slower. That's why getting help early is not just important, it is everything. If this video helped you, stay connected with me. I share simple, life-saving information every day because your health, your brain, and your future matter far more than you realize. Stay aware, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video. Now let's talk about you. You watching this right now already did something powerful. You learned the one thing most people don't know. Strokes don't wait, and you shouldn't either. Pay attention to sudden weakness, sudden confusion, sudden speech changes, sudden numbness, sudden vision problems, or sudden severe headache. These moments are not mistakes, they are alarms. Supporting your brain begins long before a stroke ever happens with the way you eat, move, sleep, and manage stress. But if a stroke ever starts, the only thing that matters is time. Fast reactions save brains. Fast reactions save lives. And today, you learned how to react. This is why doctors talk about the golden window, the first 4 hours after stroke symptoms appear. Within this window, emergency treatments can dissolve clots, restore blood flow, and save huge sections of the brain from dying. But after those hours pass, the brain tissue becomes severely damaged. Even if the person survives, the abilities controlled by that part of the brain, like memory, speech, movement, balance, or vision, may never fully return. Those first hours determine whether someone recovers normally or faces lifelong disability. What's even more alarming is that most people don't realize strokes progress silently and fast. The person may feel only mild confusion at first or slight weakness in one arm, but underneath those mild symptoms, millions of cells are already dying. When a stroke begins, something terrifying happens inside the body that most people never see or feel directly. The brain starts losing nearly 2 million cells every single minute. That number is almost impossible to imagine, but it explains why acting fast is the only thing that can save someone's ability to speak, walk, think, or even survive. The brain is different from every other organ because it cannot store oxygen. It depends entirely on a constant supply of blood to function. The moment a stroke blocks that supply, whether from a clot or a burst blood vessel, that part of the brain begins to suffocate. Without oxygen, brain cells start dying immediately, and the longer the blockage remains, the more permanent the damage becomes. Every minute counts because brain cells cannot regenerate like skin or muscle. Once a large number of them die, that part of the brain loses function forever. If the stroke affects the language center, the person may lose the ability to speak. If it affects the motor center, walking or using one arm may become impossible. If it affects memory, changes in personality or behavior may occur. Acting quickly is the only way to protect these parts of the brain from shutting down permanently. And the tragedy is that many people wait hoping symptoms will pass, not realizing that waiting is the worst thing they can do. But the hopeful part is that modern medicine can reverse much of the damage if the person gets help fast. Clot-busting medications, special procedures, and emergency treatments can reopen blocked arteries and restore oxygen before the brain reaches the point of no return. This means someone who would have lost speech or movement may walk out of the hospital almost normal. That level of recovery is only possible when the 4-hour window is used wisely. Knowing that nearly 2 million brain cells die every minute isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to prepare you. It's a reminder that hesitation can cost someone their independence, their memory, or their life. But quick action can save all of that. And once you know how fast a stroke can damage the brain, you understand why recognizing symptoms and acting immediately is one of the most important things you can ever learn. The loss of 2 million cells per minute also affects the brain's network of connections, the pathways that handle learning, coordination, and communication. When those pathways die, they leave gaps the brain can't repair easily. Even with rehabilitation, recovery becomes much harder after the early window is missed. This is why doctors say time lost is brain lost. They mean it literally. A delay of just 10 minutes can lead to tens of millions of cells dying. An hour can cause catastrophic loss of brain function. 4 hours can determine someone's entire future.